Hey girl, hey, good Maven morning. If you don't know me, I am Olivia Denton Thomas, the brand counselor, helping you go from hustling to wholeness with brand strategy. Um, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm always kind of excited to be here, which is actually really amazing. I actually love that I'm excited to be here. Um, because I'm actually living my fantasy, which is really cool, which is what we're talking about today. So, I wanted to chat a little bit about the idea that building a brand is actually building on a fantasy, but that doesn't make it fiction, right? I love, I love writing. I love storytelling. I love all those different kinds of things. And I think that there's an element of like world building that we do with brand strategy. So obviously the business itself is the transaction, the thing that happens, but the brand gets to invite you into something more emotive, something more connective. And I think that is super cool, kind of legendary. Like you are building on something that hasn't existed before. So it really is a fantasy, right? It's something from somebody else's head that comes out into the world. And the reality is, there are so many things that we experience now as normal that were not normal, didn't exist. They're kind of broken rules for some industry or some experience that somebody has had in the past. So there's so much opportunity if we can actually view it in this way, that this is really just you bringing your fantasy of this thing that you know can be real to life. So I was looking at a friend's stories on Facebook, and she just threw this amazing like block party event that was just, it's huge, and I've seen it grow year over year because she's kind of a legend. um and and somebody actually said that, right? Someone actually said, do we realize that we within this cohort of professionalism are surrounded by legends in the making, right? Every generation, every set of people who are coming up starting a business, there are going to be people who come out as legendary. They're going to be the people we write about, the people we talk about, and the ones that we reference over and over again. And the reality is, they are the people who saw the fantasy, not just the industry, and then they went forward and further than what anyone really thought was possible. So it's not fiction. It's not something that's not real. It is fact. So what I'm talking about today is how to turn the fantasy into fact and really have the brand strategy not just live in your mind and in your heart, but be transferable to other people. And the first step to that is making sure that it's clear. So a brand requires clarity. So a brand is pretty much a reputation that you can transfer and communicate to another person easily. It's also an experience, but if it is not like a clear and defined experience that you want to transfer to people, then it's not really a brand. So the clarity starts with having an understanding of yourself, your mission, your vision, your values, like what this thing is really meant to bring into the world. And not even just the thing, what you as an individual are meant to bring into the world. There's something you see, there's something you feel, there's something you hear in your life and in your experiences that's going to impact the ways that you do things that are different from the ways that other people do things. Your context makes it different, the way that you filter information for whatever you're solving for, or even just whatever you're observing. Sometimes it's not even like a solution, but you just kind of recognize that there can be something different or better, just some enhancement to something. And the only way you can even determine what that enhancement looks like, and to communicate it, is to even understand like why you think like that in the first place. So having an understanding of your mission is so helpful because you can filter everything through your calling. right? You're calling colors everything. So if you can say, hey, I see things through this specific lens, and like share that with people, they can catch on a little bit faster. So having that understanding of who you are, first and foremost, is a fantastic way to build the brand. And then you have to have an understanding of who your audience is, right? What do they care about? What do they want? I love to start with aspirations. A lot of the time we think about pain points. We think about what's wrong. Like, what is wrong? And it is good to have an understanding of what's wrong. It's good to have an understanding of the problem statements, just anything that's wrong. Like, I get it, because you're solving for something. But what you're really doing is you're bringing someone to a point of betterment. So you have to be able to define that point of betterment that you're really going towards, right? Because it's not just your fantasy that we are trying to bring to life, it's somebody else's as well. The only reason that a brand has value is because somebody has a desire to be somewhere where they currently are not, but they can see themselves there. So if you can touch on something where someone can actually see themselves, or they don't really know how they bridge that gap between themselves and that vision of themselves, that's extremely valuable, right? So helping them become what they want to be. And I know when I say that, people think like maybe it's a service, it has to be a service, but it can be a product, it can be a service, it can be kind of a widget. Like, anything can still operate within this like aspirational place, because people need stuff, people need tools, people need support, people need services to actually get from point A to point B, right? Like, that's the point of community. That's the point of us having differences so we can actually do things for other people. So having an understanding of where your audience actually wants to go is huge. And then we get to, well, what's really stopped them from actually getting there? So having the clarity on the mission and the audience is going to be a big deal, because then that helps you to communicate how you make it possible for them to live a better life than what they previously were living. I think a lot of the time we get caught up in talking about ourselves. I've been getting a lot of emails recently with people, like the subject lines talking about just themselves, right? And that's actually very important to talk about yourself in the branding process, but it's not the most important thing. The brand is supposed to carry your essence, not your like complete self all the time. It's really supposed to position you as the guide, as the tool, as the thing that gets them from, here to there. So kind of be careful of that. I know we tend to fall into wanting people to see that we are doing a good job and we are great and we are smart, and like seeking validation through this like work that we're doing. And I bring this up with clients all the time, and I kind of like jump in. I'm like, hey, can you talk to your therapist about this? Like, maybe there's something that needs to be uprooted, or at least like addressed a little bit in this area where you are seeking validation specifically through this thing, instead of just kind of like operating in your skills and talents and developing constantly in front of other people. Like, because that's really what you're doing when you're building a business. It's all an experiment, right? Like, you are constantly developing in front of people. Today you're seeing if it works, tomorrow it works, and the next day it breaks, right? Like, you have to have enough internal motivation and moreover inspiration to be able to say like, hey, if this is broken, I can still fix it. It doesn't mean that I'm broken. When we are seeking validation through the business, then when things go wrong, we start to feel broken instead of recognizing that the thing we're creating, it just needs to be fixed. That's okay. Like, just go fix it. You're safe. I promise you, you are. Next up, we have to do some alignment. So now that we have, defined who you are. We've defined who your audience is. Now we have to kind of build a world for them to live in. So now you have to think about your tone, your personality, like where you show up, how you show up, the visuals that you use that are going to connect with people. And even the language you use, there's certain jargon that people understand if they're at different levels of understanding, and certain registers that people speak in when they're at different levels of understanding. Whoever your audience is, they have this world that they live in, and you are trying to invite them to your world. So you need to create enough things that are familiar to them, so that they can understand that this is for them, even though you are bringing them to something entirely new. So there has to be a little bit of familiarity for them to say like, hey, I see myself, I see this. And that's kind of where the aspiration work comes in, but also understanding their lifestyles, even more so than their demographics, like getting into the psychographics, what they think, what they feel, how they process information, and how they prefer to receive information is going to be huge for world building. Because when you're bringing them into something, you want them to be comfortable in what it is that you're doing, but also a little bit uncomfortable, because there is tension and growth. There's always going to be a little bit of tension and growth, but there's comfort, right? Because you are with them, you are guiding them through the process, whatever that means, whatever your support mechanism actually is within your business model, right? Like you want the comfort and you want the tension in the world that they are coming into, so that they understand that there's going to be a change on the other side of it for them, which is fantastic. So you have to build a world. You have to build a world that reflects you, the things that you think are cool, the things that you think are important and relevant to building this thing. Everything about you doesn't belong in everything you are doing. But some things can fit. Some things can work. Some things actually do fit. And some things that may seem like they are not relevant are absolutely going to be more invitational to the people that you want to work with, right? Like I'm talking about brand strategy, but I like to have brunches, right? So for me, in the realm of my branding, a big thing that I like to do is invite people into situations where they can be comfortable enough to let their guard down, to speak freely. The things that I do serve a purpose for the world that I'm trying to build. So if there is something that you like and it fits the purpose and like removes the friction for a person, then you can bring that into your world building. And it's amazing. I think it's cool. Anyway, next up is embodying the brand with consistency. So once you actually start doing a thing, and you figure out where you need to be, where you need to show up for the people to see you, the language, the messaging, all that stuff, you actually have to do it. You have to put it out into the world that this is real. And reality kind of begins with predictability. People think things are real when they are predictable. I know that every Wednesday I'm going to show up in the morning and I'm going to do Good Maven Morning. Next week, Wednesday, I'm going to do it. Predictability creates reality. So in what ways can you be consistent across your messaging, consistent across like where you show up in the world, the words that you say, how you connect with people, right? Your personality. You want that consistency to actually be there and real, so that people can say like, oh man, you're a real one. Because you don't switch up because the room is different suddenly. No matter the room you're in, what comes out of you has to be the same. And this again comes from step one, where we defined ourselves, right? Because we want alignment every time we try to expand our architecture, right? And when I say architecture, I mean anywhere we show up in the name of the brand, in the name of maybe the umbrella brand. Sometimes like There's different manifestations of it, but the point is to make things say the same thing and have the same like mission overall, even if that iteration doesn't serve exactly the same purpose. I just worked with a client who is she's in politics, but she's also a writer, and she also is a speaker who's going through this like media thing. And the thing that we worked through with her was making sure that she has an umbrella mission. The vision might be different for each thing, but the mission is always the same. So whatever she's filtering it through, people will understand that this is really what she's going for in the long run. So there's consistency in it. There's consistency in her messaging. Also, her values are always going to remain the same. Her values are going to remain the same because she is still her, right? And when she invites people in to work for her, they understand the values that they have to reflect as well, right? When you have that consistency, you actually get to invite people into understanding who you are and who they have to be in order to like work with you and come alongside you. Like a lot of the time, the issue with hiring people is that we lack consistency, right? It's there are things with them, but it's not really always them. Like we get better results when we can actually say, this is what aligns with the work we're doing and the output we're trying to create. One client, once we worked through all her stuff and she was hiring against her values, she was like, hiring is so much better because the people I'm bringing in actually are doing the work, not just in a way that's delivering the product or the service, but in a way that reflects how I want people to feel when they come and when they work with me. And then the next time she hired, she dropped the ball. And we kept talking over and over again about like, man, what happened with this new person she just hired? Like, oh, they're terrible. And they keep asking questions that kind of don't make sense because these things are written in her contract and just all these different problems kind of kept coming up. And I said, well, when you hired her, did you review your values again and then hire against those values for alignment? And the answer was no, right? If you hop out of consistency, then everything else hops out of consistency as well. You are going to see the gaps when you create the gaps, right? You can't allow those gaps to happen. Sometimes they do. And obviously forgive yourself, great grace and gratitude, right? Like you have to give yourself enough grace to say like, I did the wrong thing, and then correct it. It's not deep. Like just correct it before it becomes like a chronic issue. Like most things don't have to be chronic issues, but people tend to have, I don't know, there's like a stubbornness and wanting to be right. And again, looking for validation through the work instead of looking for the work to validate itself, right? Like, don't get so caught in this idea of being right all the time and doing things perfectly all the time that you don't course correct. Pivoting is a part of the process. A lot of these businesses that you see that are like years and years old, they pivoted. They got that way because they pivoted. The zeitgeist always changes. Culture always changes. The way people take in information and the things that people care about always change. So we have to pivot as well to make sure that we are still aligned with what's happening out there, and also make sure that we are making decisions based off of what's aligned in here as well. So the consistency is a big deal. Like you have to maintain your consistency in your mission, your vision, and your values, and other aspects of your branding. I always kind of like focus very hard on the mission, the vision, and the values because that's kind of like the heartbeat of what the brand is. And a lot of other things can be learned and adopted over time. But that intrinsic alignment, it really has to be decided upon and maintained as much as you possibly can. And again, if it can't, pivot, make the change, pivot. It's not a big deal. This is a part of embodiment, right? Like You get to own the power of your influence, but the only way you get to own the power of your influence is if you consistently embody it and say that this is what it is. And next up, oh no, I think the Wi-Fi went. Oh, we're back. Next up, you have to operationalize it. You have to make it part of your standards. And that's in your pricing, that's in your contracts, that's in your website, anywhere you show up. The standard of what you're actually doing has to be actually present. A lot of us are saying that we are premium, but we are pricing for scale. Not the same thing, right? So you have to be honest with yourself about what you're doing, and how you want to show up, so that you can do that fully and not be disappointed when things don't happen the way that you you say you want them to. We often say we want certain things, but our actual activation of the things are incongruent. A lot of the time that happens because we just don't know. That happens. Sometimes we just don't know. Sometimes we have fear in going for what we really desire. So we put in, we kind of like build in sabotage so that we can say that I tried. I tried. Um, and then you can kind of be a victim of your own circumstances and then not really say that you created the circumstances, of which you are the victim, but it happens. So being aware of those things to not create a spiral of sabotage is huge. I didn't actually mean to talk about sabotage right now, but it is kind of important to think about. Like, your systems and your branding actually have to align going forward, but also your internal systems have to align with the brand that you're trying to project as well. You might not start there. You very well might not start there. You might start, feeling like, you're not worthy of the kind of success that you really want to create. That's fine. Not a big deal. But what are you going to do about that? Are you going to ask yourself questions and continue to grow into this vision that you have for yourself? Like, again, it's fantasy, not fiction. But the way that you create, make fantasy into reality, again, is, you know, continuing to do things. Like, consistency creates reality, and also persistence. Consistence and persistence create reality. So get into it, right? Make sure your systems align. Your pricing's good, your language is good, your messaging's good. Like, all of these things are actually going out into the world and inviting people into, the reality of what it is that you are creating. And lastly, um, there's a kind of fatigue that happens. There's a kind of fatigue that happens even if you're doing a good job. Um, I'm not sure what I'm calling it though. And I kind of haven't really found any research on it yet. Um, Let me see what I said I was considering calling it. Building fatigue. It's so simple. It's so simple, and yet, I couldn't really remember it. But there's kind of a building fatigue. And again, I will figure out what I really want to call this, or if someone else has some research on this that I can dive into, because I love when other people have research. I don't need to be the originator of everything. I can use what other people have created already. That's a superpower. Like, I don't need to own it, just need to be able to use it. So building fatigue. Sometimes as you're building, things aren't happening as quickly as you think they should happen, and you become tired, or you have had to pivot so many times and it is scary and you become tired, right? Like your body is not really into it anymore. And that is so real, right? Like it's really real when you're trying to build something that is non-existent because there's no proof around you anywhere that this thing actually, you know, actually fits in the world, right? Like you're kind of going off of your hypothesis and you're trying to turn your hypothesis into a theory. So you're testing over and over again to see if it actually works. But the thing with building fatigue is you have to keep looking back at the successes that you have had. You have to recognize like why you're doing it, start with why, but also like continue with why, right? Like what is your mission? What is your calling? What is your vision? What do you want to see in this world? Keep reminding yourself of that because there are people who actually need what it is that you have to offer. I mean, if you've done the research, if you've actually figured out who the people are and what matters to them, and the fact that this is something that they care about, the answers are there. Also, better yet, if someone has already validated some version of this and you just have a new version or the you version, people want it. Like maybe you need to be in different rooms. Maybe you need to be saying things slightly differently, right? Maybe you just kind of need to keep going until you find your yes. Like you might get a ton of no's before you actually get to your like one yes. Or you've already had some yeses and now you need to get to your next yes, but it's taking a little while to get there. You have to continue to encourage yourself. You really have to continue to encourage yourself and like take care of yourself. I talk about self-care ad nauseum, but because this is not easy, like having a business, growing an empire is fulfilling. Like it feels good in a whole lot of different ways. And it's like cool to feel fulfilled in the work that you are doing. But it is not something you can put in a microwave and suddenly things are going to be perfect. That's not how it works. And then after you get a win, it doesn't mean tomorrow's win is guaranteed either, right? Like you still have to work for your wins every single time. And you have to constantly ask yourself, well, what is important now? Win, right? So that you can actually move toward that. Fatigue is real. So get in community, get in to care, right? And then remember why you're doing this at all. And if you need to like tap in support to figure out if there's something you need to be doing differently, or just some refinement or whatever, like get support. Support is good. Community is huge, right? So there's like community people who that are on the same trajectory as you. There's paid community. Sometimes you need to be in a mastermind group with other people who can rah-rah you. And you take it seriously in a different way because you have invested your money into it as well, right? Sometimes the value of being in a paid group is the fact that you've put in money. Like, and when you put in the money, it's just like, oh man, like let me get a good return on my investment. Like, let me make sure that there's some equity in my time and cash investment into myself, right? Because you're betting on yourself and you would like to win that bet every single day. So that's what I have, right? As far as turning your fantasy into reality, like you really have to stick to it. You have to figure out what it actually is and you have to like keep going for it. Like you are worthy of creating this reality. Like not even just worthy, like you are supposed to, right? Like it is actually a part of your makeup. And for many, if they have done the work of actually determining what their inner cry is, right? The calling, you'll always kind of be listening for it. like throughout your life, you will kind of be listening for it and wondering like what it is that you should have been doing or you can be doing, right? So I mean, like it's worthwhile to build out this thing, and it doesn't have to be something that just lives in your mind. Like it can actually exist out in the world, and it doesn't have to just be transactional. It can actually be something that's really beautiful and communal and invites people into change that you facilitate. And that's a big deal. All right, guys, I'm going to go, but I had a great time. I hope you did too. If you want to work with me, I will drop the link for a brand breakthrough call into the comment section. It is a free 30-minute call where we chat about the possibilities of your brand and how Intentional and the brand counselor can help you get there. I would love to help you get there. And I hope you have an amazing day and seriously a good Maven morning. So stay intentional and keep on flourishing. Okay, bye.